And the real Daniel doesn't want to fight. I'm sorry to say that, and it sounds harsh and really bad, but that's just the truth.
You know, it's a very sad state of affairs, because, you know, Daniel Dubois, he doesn't strike me as being the party animal. He's not the kind of guy to want to be around loads of people.
Tony Bellew didn't just question Dubois' performance, he dragged it through the mud. From the first bell to the last breath, he saw a fighter who folded like a cheap suit. Forget power or promise. Dubois showed fear, hesitation, and worst of all, no hunger to fight back. In Bellew's eyes, this wasn't a loss. It was a full-blown exposure, and as Bellew ripped into Dubois' mindset, he made it crystal clear why no one's touching Usyk right now.
Yes, guys, he landed one decent body shot the whole fight, to which Usyk tapped his belly and just said, "What was that?" And then there was zero else coming back, and that's, in my opinion, that's the attitude and that's the mentality of a guy that when the going gets tough, he doesn't want to fight, and you can never change that.
Bellew perfectly sums it up. Usyk outsmarted Dubois before the first punch was thrown. He adjusted his own style to exploit Dubois' flaws. That's not just elite boxing, that's genius-level ring IQ. Usyk wasn't just fighting, he was playing chess while Dubois was swinging in the dark.
Who's going to beat him? I just think technically, physically now, he's at the weight and he's adapted and he's adjusted. I mean, he's even adjusted and adapted his weight for this fight individually. I mean, he put on how much weight and slowed his actual feet down because Daniel Dubois' feet was...
And if Bellew's breakdown wasn't brutal enough, Johnny Nelson stepped in to highlight just how Usyk dismantled Dubois piece by piece. Johnny Nelson doesn't hold back. He paints a devastating picture of total annihilation. Usyk didn't just win rounds, he dismantled Dubois piece by piece. Jab, EC, gone. Power, useless. Movement, paralyzed. Confidence, obliterated. And by round 5, Dubois looked like a man begging for a way out. That wasn't a fight, it was a masterclass in destruction.
What he did to Daniel, it took away everything, all his attributes. He took away his jab, took away his power, took away his movement, took away his confidence, to the point where Daniel was putting his backside on the floor thinking, wow, you know, we're only in round 5 here and I'm getting chopped up. And this guy, Usyk, did it.
And while Nelson exposed the layers of Dubois' collapse, Duke McKenzie took it further, questioning whether Dubois ever showed up at all. Duke McKenzie spotted it early. Dubois looked finished from the opening bell. No snap, no energy, no presence. Against Joshua, he exploded out the gate. Against Usyk, he looked like he didn't even want to be there. That stiff jab was gone. All that remained was hesitation and a heavy shell of nerves Usyk effortlessly picked apart.
Dubois, to me, in the first round, looked really tired. I don't know if it was the occasion that got to him. Obviously, Usyk got to him, but his punches had no snap on them. When Dubois fought Anthony Joshua, in the first round, he sat out his stall and he went to work straight away. Steady jab, stiff jab, big jab. He jabbed Joshua to death in the first 30 seconds. But in this fight against Usyk, the jab was pretty much non-existent.
Joe Gallagher breaks it down like a cold forensic report. Dubois walked straight into his own demise, forced into the ropes, clueless in defense, and then smacked clean with a surgical check hook. What's more, the follow-up wasn't luck, it was a calculated execution. Dubois wasn't just caught, he was exposed yet again. And here's the twist. Gallagher may call it unfortunate, but in reality, it was inevitable. Usyk didn't let Dubois breathe. Every mistake was punished. Every opening was capitalized. As a result, Dubois didn't just lose, he got schooled in public.
That was the case, and I think Daniel forced him into the ropes and he just walked onto a check hook high up on the head, and then obviously in the 2 phases of attack, Usyk did in them with the left hook around the side of the right hand, and he executed it.
And while Gallagher tried to soften the blow, he quickly turned the spotlight back on Usyk's brilliance in the very next breath. Gallagher puts it plainly, Usyk's legacy is sealed. He's cleared out the threats, rewritten the heavyweight formula, and now stands in that rare space where greatness meets legacy. Meanwhile, the new generation might be circling, but none of them have the tools to decode what Usyk brings. The truth is, his dominance is so complete, fans are already debating where he sits among the all-time greats. greats. And on the flip side, fighters like Dubois only reinforce how far ahead Usyk truly is.
Usyk, I don't think there's nothing more for him to prove. What is he's in a situation like all good fighters when they start coming to the end of the career. You've got the next gen coming through. You've got your upperties that want to move up and fight him. You've got the young guns. I see Turkey.
Dubois' words reek of damage control, the classic post-defeat speech laced with hollow gratitude and vague promises. Commending Usyk, that's the least he could do after being taken apart so methodically. But here's the catch, saying he gave everything rings empty when you quit under pressure. And that's not just speculation. The entire boxing world saw it. He didn't fight like a man ready for war. He fought like a man waiting for the nightmare to end. Even worse, there's no real accountability. He talks about a few things he could have sharpened up, but the truth is, his jab disappeared. His power had no bite, and mentally he was broken before the halfway point. This wasn't about 1 or 2 missed chances. This was a full-blown collapse. And the burning question is, what does "I'll be back" even mean when the real Daniel doesn't want to fight? While Dubois tried to save face, Frank Warren gave his own brutally honest view on what comes next for his fighter.
Commend him on the performance. I gave everything I had. It just wasn't, probably a few things I could have sharpened up on, but take no credit away from the man. I'll be back.
Frank Warren's tone says it all. Even his promoter doesn't sound fully convinced that Dubois has what it takes to bounce back. He's 27, sure, but youth doesn't heal a shattered mentality. And that's exactly what Dubois is dealing with right now. A psychological wreckage, not just a boxing defeat. What's more, Warren's words sound less like encouragement and more like concern wrapped in desperation. He mentions health, disappointment, and the need to learn, but this isn't a fighter who's improving. This is a fighter who crumbles when tested. The real issue is not whether Dubois can come again, it's whether he should. Because of this, fans and analysts alike are starting to ask if we've already seen the peak of a man who simply isn't built for elite-level warfare. On the flip side, Usyk's dominance just makes this all the more glaring. And while Dubois and Warren reflect on a nightmare, Usyk himself finally breaks silence after a brutal camp and yet another glorious victory.
He's got to learn from it. If he don't learn from it, then he won't come again. But it's up to him. You know, it was a tough night for him, a tough night. Is he okay, like health-wise? He's obviously very, very disappointed. But in terms of, that was brutal, that knockout, Frank. Is he okay? He got up, he got up at 10. He weren't brutal, he weren't poleaxed, he got...
Usyk's words reveal the warrior's soul behind the magic. This wasn't just another win, it was the culmination of brutal sacrifice, mental endurance, and iron discipline. Living with 14 men in a single house for over 3 months without seeing family, that's the price of greatness. And yet, he speaks with calm humility, never once flexing on what he just did to Dubois. Meanwhile, the contrast couldn't be starker. While Dubois talks about coming back, Usyk talks about resting after another masterpiece. The man earned it. And here's the twist. He still doesn't know who's next, because at this point, there's no obvious threat left. What's more, his ability to stay grounded, even after breaking his opponent physically and mentally, is why fans and legends alike are calling him the most complete heavyweight on earth. The moment of truth is coming for whoever steps up next, because Usyk's already sharpening the blade, and as the dust settles, one man perfectly captured the magic and destruction Usyk brought that night. Gareth A. Davies.
I wanna rest. I cannot say who my next opponent today, because I prepare 3.5 months. I not see my family, my wife. Every day I live with my team with 14 guys. Yeah, in one house. Yeah, it's every day only one face. Now I wanna back home. Now I wanna.
Gareth A. Davies delivers the knockout commentary. Dubois never could. He doesn't just call Usyk great, he frames the night as a historic marker in heavyweight boxing. In under 15 minutes, Usyk dismantled a man who was supposed to be a rising contender, and he did it not just with power or speed, but with magician skills, feints, angles, deception, and brilliance. Meanwhile, Dubois didn't even know where the punches were coming from. He was lost, confused, and helpless. And here's the twist. This performance may have just pushed Usyk into the conversation alongside the greats. What Ali did with flair, Usyk does with finesse. What Lewis did with force, Usyk does with IQ. The division will never be the same. The burning question is who's got the guts and the game to step into that storm next.
Of greatness, and he goes out into the night, like all the people here tonight, knowing that a big debate will rage now as to where he actually sits in the pantheon of the all-time heavyweight greats. I thought he was astounding from beginning to end. He discombobulated, he mesmerized, he'd used his magician skills against Daniel Dubois, and it took him under 15 minutes. He was brilliant from first to the last.
Derek Chisora doesn't pull punches, and when he says Dubois quit, he means it in the rawest sense. According to Chisora, this wasn't just another loss. It was a complete failure on every level. From the training camp to the mental prep, everything fell apart. What's worse, he implies it was all lined up in Dubois' favor. The stage was set, the moment was his, and yet he bottled it. No tweaks in style, no visible game plan, just a heavyweight wandering into a storm with no umbrella. And here's where things go nuclear. Chisora exposes the camp around Dubois too. He doesn't just call out the fighter, he shines a spotlight on those who trained him, those who said he was ready, those who clearly didn't do enough. That kind of inside comment, that bitterness, that realness, shows how disrespected the boxing community feels when a fighter fails to show grit on the big stage. It's not just about heart, it's about accountability, and Dubois in Chisora's eyes came up empty on both. And while Chisora vented raw frustration, Adam Smith brought the technical perspective on how Dubois fell apart tactically.
Yeah, man, they quit. I don't understand. You know, they were supposed to train him different. They did not. I mean, like, it's big time. It was set for him to win it. You know, it was set for him to win it. You know, when I went to graduate, he said, "How you feel?" You know, Don Child goes to me, "Oh, go suck your best friend's dick." I'm like, "Okay, cool then."
Adam Smith gives a more surgical breakdown, and even then, it exposes Dubois' failure. He credits Daniel for a mini comeback in round 3, but even that praise is diluted. The shots were blocked, they lacked conviction, and worst of all, they didn't phase Usyk. That's the key difference. Dubois may have had moments, but they were empty threats, not real danger. The low blow debate returns too, but here's the twist. Even if fans want to scream controversy, Smith calmly reminds us that Usyk shook it off like it was nothing. Meanwhile, Dubois fixated on the idea of a break, a breather, a way out. That's the true mental divide. What's more, Smith subtly emphasizes how Dubois' right hand, the same punch he tried to rely on, became his downfall. He was too predictable, and because of this, Usyk closed the show with ease. The real story isn't a low blow or a near miss. It's that Dubois had nothing new, nothing dangerous, and nothing that truly tested the champion. And finally, Joseph Parker delivers a calm but clinical assessment of how Usyk broke Dubois, not with brutality, but with brains.
I thought he shook Dubois as well at the end of the second round. I thought Daniel did really well in the third round actually to come back and landed a few right hands, but they were sort of partially blocked. Usyk never really gets hit flush. There was that other sort of low blow type body shot, exactly like the one in Poland, which they sort of shook off. And yeah, unfortunately, Daniel was trying to catch him with the right hand, and it was the right hand that led to the end for Dubois.
Joseph Parker says what most real fight fans already knew. Usyk didn't just beat Dubois, he broke him, layer by layer, round by round. What's truly brutal here is how calm Parker is while describing such systematic destruction. Usyk's patience wasn't passive. It was part of a strategy to lure Dubois into confusion. The movement, the feints, the setups, everything was deliberate. What's more, Parker makes it clear this wasn't a fluke. It was calculated, it was practiced, and it was perfected. On the other hand, Dubois had no answer. He fell into every trap. Even when he had moments, they were shallow compared to the depth of Usyk's skill set. The reality is, Usyk's IQ is just on another level. Parker's commentary doesn't scream, it educates. And that's even more damning for Dubois, because when elite fighters like Parker break it down so cleanly, it shows this wasn't just a mismatch in power, it was a mismatch in every dimension of boxing.
I'm not stunned, I know that he broke him down, right? He broke him down, he was patient. Then Dubois did, for me, looked better. Like landed some good shots in the beginning. It was going back and forth. and he got Usyk's attention, but he was patient.
This wasn't just a defeat for Daniel Dubois, it was a brutal exposure of everything he's missing at the elite level. From Bellew's ruthless takedown to Chisora's blunt verdict, the message is loud and clear. Dubois doesn't have the heart, the tools, or the mentality to survive in a ring with someone like Usyk. The body language, the lack of response, the mental shutdown, it's all been dissected by legends who know what true grit looks like. Meanwhile, Usyk walks away not only with another win, but with his legacy burning hotter than ever. He didn't just beat Dubois, he embarrassed him, outclassed him, and dismantled him with such surgical precision that even his critics are running out of arguments. What's more, Usyk's dominance has now forced a shift in the heavyweight division. The bar has been raised, and fighters like Dubois have been left behind. On the other hand, if Dubois does return, the pressure will be unimaginable. Every jab he throws, every punch he takes will be viewed through the lens of this collapse. The burning question is no longer whether he can win. It's whether fans will ever take him seriously again. The truth is, the real Daniel doesn't want to fight, and the world saw. Do you still believe in Dubois' comeback, or has Usyk permanently shut that door? Let us know in the comments and join the war of opinions below.